Welcome to Solve It Like a Marketer. I'm Stephen Hobay. Today I'll be chatting with Ron Porter, a voiceover professional, as part of my series on making it as a freelancer. Now, I've known Ron for years, and he has some fabulous insights into making it as a voiceover artist, as well as being a business of one. If you like this video, please subscribe and don't go away. Thanks for joining me, Ron.
You're welcome. Good to see you again.
Yes. So you are in the profession of voice acting. I think I can safely term you a freelance voice actor and teacher. So tell me, let's go back and tell me a little about sort of your path towards this. What inspired you to get into this?
Sure. I think for years, it didn't matter where I go. I'd go to order a sandwich somewhere and somebody say, "Oh, you have a nice soothing voice." And I kind of, pushed it off the side as, "Oh, thanks." Didn't really think about it. But then I come from the music industry and I, got laid off my job after 23 years. And it was right before I got laid off that I was talking to somebody that they say has the best ears in the music business, somebody who would sign artists and songwriters. And I had a meeting with her, and she basically said, "Oh my God, do you not have a radio show? Like you should." I just assumed you would be somebody, with that voice that you'd be doing stuff. And I didn't really think much about it. But then when I started putting it all together, I went, okay, maybe there's something there. Here I was laid off. I was working part-time. And I thought, you know what, why don't I see if there's voiceover classes out there, courses or something I could take? So I did. I took a voiceover course. I spent, quite a bit of money on taking that course. And then the next thing I did was I had to go and get a demo tape done. And that cost money as well. So, starting to add up a little bit. And then after that, the courses that I took didn't have a lot of input as to what do you do next. So on my own, I had to be kind of resourceful. And I started reaching out to agents. And that's all I knew at the time was that you have to get an agent, and that's where all the work will flow through. So I did get an agent. I felt incredibly lucky. And I thought, there's my ticket. This is my new career. It's going to be easy peasy. That's not really the way it turned out. Didn't earn a lot of money.
But that's how we met.
That's how we met, exactly. We met with we were at the same agent. Anyway, so yeah, didn't earn a lot of money through the agent. But at that point I started, there's got to be other alternatives. And that's when I really started looking into, I found out about, freelancer sites. There's one called Upwork, or any industry is represented there. There's tons of work. And then I sort of, made a bio. I put my demo reels up there. And then all of a sudden I started to get work coming my way. And it was like the greatest thing since sliced bread. I thought, maybe I can earn money doing this. This is great. And then I learned that, that was fine. I started to earn a bit of money that way, but I started really using the internet. And I went out, is there any other freelancer sites out there? And I found out a whole bunch of them. And I signed up for all of them. I started earning money through multiple online sites. And I started to go, wow, this really is a real business I can create by, doing it on my own. I didn't have to rely on the agent. So after that, it's about a year of doing that. I decided, you know what, let me stop working. I'm going to do this full time. And I'll tell you what, it's the best decision I ever made. My life is much happier now. I don't have to deal with drama at work and, all that kind of stuff that goes along with it. And I'm my own boss. So I felt great. And then along the way, meeting up with Stephen, Stephen started a voiceover course and he asked me to be an instructor for a couple of the classes. And it's been great. Thank you, Stephen.
Oh, you're most welcome.
Yeah.
So let's dive a little deeper. So you basically, you went out, you did your research, you took some courses, the industry said, oh yeah, well, you should get an agent. So you tried that. And you realized that wasn't for you, that this was that you had your own methodology or your own course that you wanted to take. So how difficult was it to sort of go through that decision-making process and kind of evaluate what you wanted to do, what fit right for you, as opposed to what other people might tell you is right?
Well, I think that for me, I think what really happened was that was a couple of things. When I was with an agent, I would have to go out on auditions, and you'd go to an audition. There could be 150 people there, all auditioning for the same part. Even the best voiceover artists are not going to get even a handful of those 100. That's just not the way it works. Clients are looking for different things. People fall into different genres in our industry. So me realizing that that was not going to be my meal ticket. And I think, having been to conferences and things, I've heard other people say that even the best voiceover artists will still find another way to earn income. You can't just depend on an agent. And it wasn't a lot of fun, seriously, going to all those cattle calls, and I just didn't enjoy it. So, making that decision was that I didn't want to do that anymore. And I started to earn more income. And the way that happened, I always use the term snowball. It's a snowball effect. I do a job for somebody on an online site. They really like it. And the next thing I know, 3 weeks later, they're, "Oh, Ron, we've got another one. Could you do that?" And so I started to build up clientele that way. And some of the clientele in my industry, our industry, would just be a simple mom and pop. They want to put together a commercial, and you'd be dealing directly with them. But a lot of the other ones, a lot of the other people you run into on the online sites are actually like production houses. So little mom and pop shops will go to a production house. So it's not just a matter of getting that one job. It's like they get work coming at them all the time. So getting my name and my voice out there to those production companies was extremely helpful. And that's what it snowballed. I have production houses that every job they do, they send it to me now. So anyway, I don't know if I answered your question that way, but
Yeah. I mean, I'm also interested to know, and I've discussed this with other people, and that is when freelancers are starting out, and I know we talk about this when we're teaching as well. At what point do you go from "I'll take anything" to, okay, I should now start to be a little more selective?
yes, absolutely. When I started out, I would take anything that came my way. Absolutely anything. It could be, for a minute of reading, if it was for a commercial or whatever what the project was, for a minute of that could take up, to half of my day to do that, especially in the beginning when you're learning and there's a whole editing process you have to get good at. And I would take that job, and it might pay me $20 or $40. And, I wanted to get experience, and that's what you do. And people would say, "But this is good promotion for you." You'll hear that in a lot of industries, "Do it for free, because your voice will be out there then." So I started off doing that. And I didn't mind it because I was working a lot.
Mhm.
I didn't take a $40 job and sitting around doing nothing. But there was a point, to your point, there was a point in time where I just said, "Okay, you know what? I'm going to start doing a little research," because everybody wants to lowball you. I mean, I think for freelancers, that's probably something that everybody runs into. So I would
Mhm.
research the company that I'm dealing with, and I would, kind of go to their website. I would try to get a feel for reviews that are out there. Are they a viable, vibrant company? And really, my question is, do they have a budget? If they're a company that has national offices all around the world and they're trying to offer me $100 for a job, I got to the point where I'm now able to negotiate with them. I'm able to, because I've done it enough now to know, hey, this is what it's really worth. I mean, there are rates out there, when you're part of a union or even a non-union agency, but they don't always apply to freelancers. But I started to get a feel for it. And I started to get really good at deciding, the job was posted at $100, and I said, send them off a tape, get them liking it first, and then I start to negotiate. And I'll say, I really like the product, and actually I went and looked up your other videos on YouTube, but I just, to be honest with you, the rate that you're offering is just it. It's quite a bit lower than what I'm used to. And, and I certainly understand if that's not within your budget, but I'm quoting this. And if that doesn't work for you, I wish you the very best with your project. And the funny part is that I wish you the very best with that project. It's kind of pulling them in a little bit.
Yeah.
And they would actually come back to me. And there are times when we have to negotiate, I want 300 instead of they list 100, and we wind up at 200 or something. So that was a bit of a skill that I didn't have before. I'd never had to be a barter like that. Anyway, but that felt really, really good. I started to build a confidence in doing that. Well, and again, in the beginning, I would look at every single job that was out there on these online sites, and I started to realize, if somebody's going to put $5 as their budget, well, that is just a placeholder sometimes. So don't throw those ones away. You can still talk to them, have a conversation and see if you can come to an agreement on price.
And how do you, it's great when you have clients that just automatically come to you, but how do you kind of foster that client base, grow that client base, keep that client base, give good customer service, all of that stuff that we kind of have to learn as freelancers?
Yeah. Well, I think it crosses every industry. If you're going to be a freelancer, social media, there's the buzzword, right? Your Facebook page, your Instagram, you're creating a website on your own. I used to always say that that a website, there's probably a million voiceover artists out there that have a website. And I thought, well, how is anyone going to find me? You go searching for new voiceover talent, and I'm number 1,040,000. I thought, well, how is that really going to benefit me? But the truth is, when I'm negotiating with a client, or I'm looking up to find work, I forward on my website to them, and that's putting it right in their face.
Yeah, it's like your digital business card, right?
Absolutely. I've got my demo tapes out there. I've got videos of past projects I've done, and so they can determine that. But without social media, you'd be sitting at home twiddling your thumbs, waiting a lot of times. Anyway, yeah, that was very helpful. Anyway, that's all I was going to say about that. Sir.
Yeah, and I think what's interesting is the beauty of it is that we can think globally, not just locally.
Yes, to that point, Stephen, and I'm glad you brought that up. Because when I started out, I thought I'm going to be dealing with Canadian companies and Canadian, jobs for commercials, etc. I'd say 95% of my work is not from Canada. I would say 50% of it is American. So I've had to learn how to speak American. Project instead of .com instead of com. But the other 50% or 45% is overseas. It's global. So those people will go onto these online sites. They'll post their jobs. And there's something interesting about that too, is that, I don't know what clicked in me, but at some point I started to realize that, Dubai is a booming metropolis or whatever, right? There's business all over the place. So you'd think they'd only want people with Dubai accents or whatever. Not true. They're global companies. So that's when I really started to click here. That's when I really moved forward, is that I thought, you know what, I'm going to go look up production houses and agents in Dubai. And I started firing them emails. I sent along my demo tapes or whatever. And guess what? I'm big in Dubai. And that was all me reaching out to those companies, because everybody needs English is the universal language. And all those companies, even though I reached out to German, I've got German clients now. that also will want to do their same video or voiceover for the American market. So I started going around, I had a map at one point. I was going, okay, today I'm going to go and look up, China,
Yeah.
the companies in China as well. So that was a real eye opener for me. And that was something I just kind of, why didn't I think of that before? So being global, your point is yes, being a freelancer, you can be global. You don't have to just be local.
And it's interesting. I mean, you've been on this journey for a number of years now. When you began, would you have ever seen yourself doing what you're doing now, the way that you're doing it now? Or has this been kind of a journey of learning and keeping an open mind and kind of somewhat going with the flow?
Absolutely. I would never have guessed what I'm doing. And it kind of just, organically, I had to learn all these things. I had to learn how to deal with some clients where I'm the one who had to produce an invoice. Now, for anybody in finance, or probably most people, that'd be like breathing. I had no idea what to do.
Yeah.
So I created some templates. I went online and I found what a typical invoice should look like. And I will send that off to some clients. Some clients will send me invoices. There's only rare instances where, I do the work for somebody, I send them an invoice, and then I really have to get on their case to follow up. And that itself was another skill. If you go in hot, you may never hear from them again. If you go in, hey, you said you're going to pay me on this day or whatever. And I found gentle ways of reminding them that, this is still outstanding, and just give me a shout back and we can have a little chat, whatever. After 3 or 4 times, I kind of take out the nicety, but I'm still not being mean. And then the other part of it too was just the accounting part of it. I never had to keep track of my income and worry about taxes at the end of the year and all that stuff. And I just, use an Excel spreadsheet to keep track of every bit of income where it comes from, when I received it. So again, that was new for me because I'm certainly not a money guy in any stretch of the imagination.
And I think also, you make a good point that, there are lots of people that have a passion in the creative arts, wherever that may be, and want to become freelancers and have a great idea. They want to be a voiceover artist, or they want to be a photographer or writer or whatever. But I think it's the unknown factors that creates fear. So just speak, you've already kind of mentioned it, but speak to me about the things that you didn't know that you may have just popped onto YouTube and found a resource and went, oh, okay, I can do that.
Okay, well, I'll be specific, but I know this is about all freelancers and all creative and others. But when I started out, everything voiceover artists, you might have thought they just go to studios and they do the recording. Well, in today's world, that's changed. Every voiceover artist has to have their home studio. So in the beginning, I just I have a closet door here that's not being used, a closed closet, and I just put my microphone in there, and I thought, oh, that'd be great. And I found out very quickly that it takes a little bit more than that. And Stephen, you're right. YouTube has the answer to everything.
It does.
So, yeah, it does. It literally does. I'm just blown away. I learned things about how to soundproof my recording booth, sound absorption. I had to buy different materials. I learned all that stuff. When I first started out, I didn't have the best equipment. But through researching online and finding deals and stuff, I got kind of quite good at knowing what would make my sound better. And I took, other than that first course that I took further lessons as well. I further voice lessons from some really good people.
And I think it's interesting. Another common thread that I've seen when I talk to people is that as freelancers, we are by nature lifelong learners. We never remain static.
Right.
We
Yeah.
always, we have to, and especially if we're dealing with technology, we have to remain up to date.
Yeah. Yeah. Um, absolutely true. I mean, that goes beyond the amount of hardware and software that I've switched out and bought new and gotten better. Um, well, it's cost a lot of money, but I love shopping for gear. So, getting a new microphone, buying new monitors, getting bass traps and things for my studio. You know, you're right. Technology is changing, and technology is actually making things a lot easier too.
Mhm.
There's cheaper ways of getting around things today. So
So I guess unless you can jump in if you have other thoughts, but I wanted to ask kind of the penultimate question, which is if somebody's watching, they're thinking of becoming a freelancer in whatever industry that may be, is there kind of a core piece of advice that you would give them to think about?
Hmm. Well, I'll tell you what. um, I'm going to go right back to what I said before. The internet is your best friend. You pop onto YouTube, or you don't even have to go to YouTube, in a Google search. Start with, not just forget voiceover, but how do freelancers get started? What are the things they need to think about? Do they need to think about creating a business? Um, anything and everything. And there are times when I go, um, you might think, oh, I'll never find that on the internet. I'll go, well, what's the best sound absorption blanket, in my business? It's like 20 things will pop up online. I can't say anything more about that. I guess getting good at putting together a resume, whatever your business is kind of a no-brainer, I guess.
Mm.
Um,
But give me a piece of, that's kind of the technical aspect.
yeah.
But give me a piece of inspiration. You mentioned, you kind of touched on, you wouldn't change this for anything.
Well,
So
yeah.
what's that inspiration for you?
I'll tell you what, the satisfaction I've gotten since I've become my own boss, my own business, whatever, is so much greater than any other job I've ever had in my life. And it's a personal satisfaction that it's something I'm doing on my own. I'm contributing to other people, whatever market that may be. It's just I don't know how to put it into words, but it just makes me feel great. I don't know what else to say, Stephen.
And you are the master of your own destiny, right?
Yes, I think more so than anything. And what I've come to appreciate as I'm getting a little older, I'm not a millennial anymore. A couple of years past, but I love that I get to pick and choose what I want to work on.
Mm.
And I think every freelancer would have that same luxury, because I used, when I told you in the beginning, I used to start and I take every job because that's not what I thought you need to do. And then
and there's no shame in that.
No. And
when you're starting out.
But there were days and weeks sometimes when I'd have long projects that I just felt burned out. And I thought, well, this is kind of like what I used to do, when I had bosses and everything, right? I had deadlines and stuff to deal with. But as I'm getting older, what I'm finding is that I turn down work now because I'm either not interested in it, it doesn't pay enough money, it's going to take too much of my time. And that luxury of you being able to decide that is golden for me. And but going back to your thought of, the fear is the unknown stuff. There's no magic route that'll get you there. But dive in. That's what I did.
Mm-hmm.
And the water's fine. You'll find a way. And there's enough help out there, especially on the internet and social media, that you'll find your way.
Wise words.
Well, it sounds
No,
wrong,
but
but
you know what? It's true.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm not a religious person, but I do tell myself, have a little faith
Yep.
in myself and the universe that things will work
Yes.
out.
That's the words I use, Stephen, is that let the universe will take care of you.
Yeah.
And think of all those times you fret and worried about things, maybe 1% of those things actually came to bear.
Yeah.
And if you're afraid of being out of work and not, I mean, that's a big one, but have faith in the universe. I'm just going to repeat what you said. Absolutely.
Okay. Well, we'll end on a high note. Yes.
Can I just say one last thing, Stephen?
Yes.
That fear of the unknown, I'm just going to reiterate that. When we met and you brought up the idea of me teaching, I was like, there was the fear. It was like, I don't know if I'd be a good teacher. I know my stuff, but would I be a good teacher? That fear almost held me back from agreeing to do this.
I remember.
Yeah. And I'll tell you what, after the very first class, I just went, oh my God. I feel like I'm not bragging here, but I feel like I'm a natural teacher.
Yep.
I care about the people I'm teaching about. I care about the subject matter. And that was getting over the fear. If I had stopped at that fear, I probably always would have said, I wonder what if.
Yeah.
I thank you for the push.
Yeah. Well, I knew you would succeed. And I think also that speaks to, if we are passionate at something and we believe in that, then that's almost infectious.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah.
I agree. That's wonderful. So yeah, I'm in work-wise in my life, I'm in the happiest place I've ever been.
Wonderful.
Not that the rest of my life sucks. I just mean work-wise.
So what I'll do is in the show notes, I'll pop your website, etc., so people can look you up.
Sure.
And thank you very much again for taking the time today.
Oh, thank you. Thanks for having me, Stephen.
Well, a big thanks to Ron Porter for taking the time to chat. If you'd like to see more videos like this, hit that subscribe button. You can also catch me on Instagram and Facebook for extra content, and well, you never miss an episode. Or you can connect with me on LinkedIn. Those links are below. I'll see you every week with a new video, so please stay tuned, and together, let's solve it like a marketer.